It's 6:45 a.m. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The news edited by Lal Mallavarachi, read by Soundithavam. The President says that the Northern Province housing project, stalled by the recent economic downturn, will commence next year. The government says the plantation workers' wages will be definitely implemented. 6 deaths and 11 injuries reported due to the adverse weather from the 19th of May. Minister Mahinda Amaraveera says that the strongest political alliance in the island will be formed by the SLFP next month. In foreign news, a top UN court orders Israel to stop Rafah offensive. And in sports, Ireland beat the Dutch in the final T20 Tri-Series game. President Ranil Wickremesinghe emphasized the confirmation of land rights for the people, ensuring avenues for progress. The President highlighted Sri Lanka's unique status as the sole South Asian nation offering free land rights to its citizens. He encouraged recipients to safeguard the freehold deeds from the Heritage Programme for the future generations. The President made these comments during the ceremony where land deeds were bestowed upon the residents of the Jaffna district yesterday. 1,286 freehold deeds encompassing all 15 divisional secretariat divisions within the Jaffna district were distributed to the people, with the President symbolically participating in the awarding ceremony. Furthermore, under the Urumea program, 13,858 freehold deeds are scheduled for distribution across the Mullaitivu, Kalinochi, Vavuniya and the Mannar districts of the Northern Province. During his address at the ceremony, President Ranil Wickremesinghe announced the revival of the Northern Province housing project, stalled by the recent economic downturn commencing next year. He highlighted this free land title initiative as a crucial step, alongside noting the Urumea program as the nation's largest privatization endeavor. The Plantation Enterprise Reform Minister and Finance State Minister Dr. Ranjit Siyamalapitiya announced that the increase in wages for the plantation workers will definitely be implemented. The minister also stated that the contracts with government-owned estate companies that do not agree to increase the wages will be cancelled. Minister Siyamalapitiya added that the contracts of these cancelled estate companies will be reassigned to other companies that agree to the terms in a transparent manner. According to the new Gazette, the basic salary of plantation workers will be increased to 1,350 rupees with immediate effect. The increase, including the 350 rupees special allowance, will bring the salary to 1,700 rupees. The State Defence Minister Pramit Pandaratennakon said that 6 deaths and 11 injuries have been reported from the 19th of May, and the adverse weather condition has affected 34,880 people of 9,616 families in 18 districts. He said that the number of tree falls has increased recently and special focus will be laid on the existing risk of the same. Tennakon expects the Road Development Authority, provincial and local government authorities to pay attention on this matter. He stated that the priority will be given to ensure the safety of the students at school premises. He further looked forward to formulating a national policy under the guidance of a special committee after conducting a proper study on tree planting beside the roadsides and educating the community in this regard. Furthermore, the minister also stated that necessary measures are expected to be expedited to control the floods in low-lying areas due to unsafe and unauthorized constructions. Meanwhile, the Sri Lanka Air Force emphasizes that 3 helicopters are on alert to respond to emergencies arising from the adverse weather conditions. This news broadcast comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. Minister Mahinda Amaraveera says that the largest and the strongest political alliance in the island will be formed under the patronage of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party on the 8th of next month. A rally with a huge crowd will be held in the Ambalantota town to mark the inauguration of this alliance. Engaging in an inspection tour in the Ambalantota town yesterday, he said, many political parties have agreed to join this alliance. Nearly 1,300 naval personnel who were absent without leave have been legally discharged during the general amnesty period declared from the 20th of April to the 20th of May 2024, the Sri Lanka Navy said. This general amnesty was applicable only for sailors except all artificers, professional medical and professional dental sailors who have been absent without leave to obtain official discharge. That concludes local news.
The main news story is brought to you by Sinhala Mahatmya.
The State Minister of Defence, Pramita Bandara Chennakon, said that a special committee will be appointed soon to draft a national policy on planting trees. In a recent news conference, claiming that an increase in accidents involving fallen trees by the roadsides have been observed recently, he said that a national policy will be introduced aiming to control and mitigate accidents caused due to falling trees. The minister said that there is no policy for tree planting in Sri Lanka and anyone can plant a tree at any time, and added that the Singapore model is to be studied and adopted in this regard, which came to you in the main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Sinhala Mahatmya.
Moving on to Watchlight, the number of dengue cases recorded for this year has topped the 24,000 mark, according to the Epidemiology Unit. As of May 23rd, 24,227 cases have been reported, with the highest number being from the Colombo district, which stands at 5,183. The Western province has recorded 8,711 cases, the highest province-wise, while the month of May has also logged 1,954 dengue cases. As several parts in Sri Lanka have experienced significant rainfall for the past few days, the health officials urge people to keep their surroundings clean and destroy mosquito breeding places in order to keep the dengue disease at bay, and came to you in Watchlight.
Coming up, World News.
Making headlines this morning, a top UN court orders Israel to stop Rafah offensive. Papua New Guinea landslide buries more than 100 homes. And a wreckage of a US World War II submarine found after 8 years. The UN's top court, the International Court of Justice, has issued a dramatic ruling ordering Israel to immediately halt its military offensive in Rafah. It acted in support of a South African application last week, which sought a number of measures against Israel, accusing it of stepping up what it says is a genocide. Israel has vehemently denied the allegation and signalled it would ignore any order to halt its operations. Government spokesperson David Menzer told media that there is no power in the world that will push us to commit a public suicide. A massive landslide is feared to have killed many after it struck 6 remote villages in Papua New Guinea, local officials and aid agencies said. The landslide buried more than 100 homes after it struck at around 3 local time yesterday in the highlands of Enga, north of the island. It was not immediately clear how many people were trapped in the rubble, and no casualties have been officially confirmed. The Enga governor, Peter Lipatas, told the AFP news agency it was an unprecedented natural disaster. The wreckage of a US Navy submarine that sank the most Japanese warships during World War II has been found in the South China Sea, some 8 years after it was sunk by enemy forces. The USS Harder was found 3,000 feet below water off the Philippines' northern island of Luzon. The Harder was sunk in battle on the 29th of August 1944, along with its crew of 79 men. In one of its final war patrols, it sank 3 Japanese destroyers and heavily damaged 2 others over 4 days, according to the US Navy's History and Heritage Command. Back to the headlines of the world news. A top UN court orders Israel to stop Rafah offensive. Papua New Guinea landslide buries more than 100 homes. And the wreckage of a US World War II submarine found after 8 years. That concludes this bulletin of world news.
Development news.
President Ranil Wickremesinghe stated that the Jaffna Hospital will be upgraded as a national hospital in the near future to enhance and ensure excellent healthcare standards in the northern province. He further noted that the cabinet has given its approval for the Karapitia Hospital to be upgraded as a national hospital. These comments were made during President Wickremesinghe's attendance at the inauguration of the Clinical Training and Research Block at the Faculty of Medicine, the University of Jaffna, yesterday. That's development news.
Moving on with sports news.
Ireland secured a narrow 3-run win over the hosts Netherlands in their final T20 Tri-Series match in The Hague yesterday. The Irish had already wrapped up victory in the series with a 5-wicket win over Scotland on Thursday. George Dockrell top scored for Ireland with an unbeaten 30-ball innings of 53 as the Irish posted 161 for 6 in Woodburg. Ireland faced Sri Lanka in Florida on the 31st of May before beginning their T20 World Cup campaign against India in New York on the 5th of June, with the Dutch and the Scots also having qualified for the tournament in the Caribbean and the USA. That came to you in sports news. We take a look at business news next.
Go ekakthiyana youth ekata life eke change ekata niyamata set wenna aswahagena dakapuhina habe karanna youth ekata niyamata set wenna friendship eka menna.
The all-new NSB Ithru Mithru account, NSB IAM, a plan for your dream.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
The Ceylon Chamber of Commerce calls on all political parties to support the continuity of SOE reforms and the reform momentum building on the economic stability achieved. The Chamber stresses that it is vital to prioritize and implement the reforms related to the state-owned enterprises, energy and fiscal management to ensure that the country does not revert to a crisis. It is crucial that all the political parties focus on Sri Lanka's long-term sustainability and avoid leveraging the reform process for short-term election gains. That's business news.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Go ekakthiyana youth ekata life eke change ekata niyamata set wenna aswahagena dakapuhina habe karanna youth ekata niyamata set wenna friendship eka menna.
The all-new NSB Ithru Mithru account, NSB IAM, a plan for your dream.
On to economic news. Sri Lanka's services exports for the month of April 2024 increased by 19.28% to reach $300.41 million over the corresponding period of 2023. Furthermore, the estimated value of the ICT exports is expected to increase by 21.6% to $120.69 million in April 2024 when compared to April 2023. Also, the value of transport and logistics services exports is expected to increase by 24.94% in April 2024 compared to the corresponding period in the previous year. That's economic news.
Weather report.
Due to the southwest monsoon condition, the prevailing showery and windy conditions are expected to continue. Showers or thundershowers will occur at times in the western, Sabragamur, central, northwestern and southern provinces and also in the Mannar district. Heavy showers above 100 millimeters are likely at some places in the Sabragamur province and in the Nuwara district. Fairly heavy showers above 75 millimeters are likely at some places in the western and northwestern provinces, also in Kandy, Mannar, Galle and the Matara districts. Showers or thundershowers will occur at several places elsewhere in the island. Strong winds of about 50 to 60 kilometers per hour can be expected at times over the western slopes of the central hills and in the northern, north-central, western, southern and northwestern provinces and in the Trincomalee district. Fairly strong winds about 30 to 40 kilometers can be expected at times elsewhere over the island. To conclude this bulletin of news, a recap of the headlines. The President says that the Northern Province housing project stalled by the recent economic downturn will commence next year. The government says the plantation workers' wages will be definitely implemented. 6 deaths and 11 injuries reported due to the adverse weather from the 19th of May. Minister Mahinda Amaraveera says that the strongest political alliance in the island will be formed by the SLFP next month. A top UN court orders Israel to stop Rafah offensive. And Ireland beat the Dutch in the final T20 Tri-Series game. With that, we conclude this bulletin of news from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. And now it's back to your host, Sonal, across the glass pane to keep you well entertained on a rather cool and windy Saturday morning. A very good morning to you, Sonal, and it's all yours.